in life, like a lot of times we think, and I've been guilty of this all the time, is, okay, I'm going to figure it out right over here. I'm going to think about it. I'm going to maybe even go so far as to talk about it with a bunch of people, which is a good step. And then once I get it all figured out, then I'm going to do. But big mistake. Like life, I'm going to tell you something here, okay? You ready? Yeah. Life is about doing, right? You actually, you know this. It's about doing, and then the thinking comes later.
Okay, welcome Shimone Weissman on to the Carla Rand podcast show. Happy to have you here. You've been on here before, but it's been, I don't know, we were talking about it maybe a year or something like that. And we basically heard about your life, your story, about how you got into nutrition and fitness. And so you're still a nutrition and fitness coach. And so I want to talk to you today about leveling up. So thanks for being on here, Shimone.
You're welcome. Thank you for having me. It's honestly a pleasure. And thank you for your whole team for making this possible. And I just want to give a quick pitch to everybody that's a Carla follower. You guys have somebody really special running the show over there. I just want to make sure that you realize that you have somebody who's passionate, who knows her stuff in fitness, is super committed to y'all. It's been a learning experience for me also to watch you do your thing, Carla. And just you're a great gift to the community there. And I'm sure you're well appreciated, but I just want to make sure.
Oh, thanks. That's really nice. Thank you for saying that. And I would say the same thing for you, for your listeners, to check out what Shimone's got going on, because you are like... You're like a, I don't know, like a bulldog. Like you just want to help people, you know, like let's get this nutrition figured out. Let's get this fitness stuff and let's go hard. So that's what we're going to do today is we're going to talk about leveling up, because you are an example, Shimone, of really leveling up in your life. And I know we've talked about this a lot. We both have a passion and a desire to be better, to constantly grow, to constantly achieve, to constantly just be better, do more, and help more people, impact more people, right? So let's talk about that, Shimone. I'm going to kind of let you take a little bit of the lead here. Where do you want to start when it comes to leveling up?
Okay, we're going to start with the natural place. We can talk about fitness, right? So, we talk about leveling up with fitness. So first, Carla, obviously you're all about leveling up also in your life. It's very clear to me, you know, you're, like you mentioned, you're very into working on yourself. Your fitness game is always on the rise. I noticed how you switched to like working in a gym, which is super cool, and the energy that you can feed off there. Like that was really cool to actually see you, switch spaces and kind of level up in that way. So in terms of me, so with leveling up with fitness is like being a fitness coach, right? I'm always looking to create newly, right? Not to create from just not to repeat, right? Because even if you're doing a good program, even if you got good results or whatever, there's a certain point where you're gonna kind of like hit the ceiling. So you want to always be creating new from nothing. So what does that mean? That means thinking outside the box. So let's say I do sessions in the park. Like I take clients in a group session. Let's say a small group, 2-3 guys. We work out in the park, out in nature, in the sun. We don't have the weather that you guys have. We have I don't know how to translate it.
I was going to say, like, it sounds really fun to go, like, work out in the park. We could do that for, I don't know, maybe 3-4 months tops of the year before we get snow and crappy weather. But it's still, like, I do the outdoor workouts, too. I think they're phenomenal.
Right on. Yeah. So, you know, we need that as humans. We need that sunlight. I don't know what y'all do for sun, but we get sun. And just kind of getting out there, bringing some, like, mace bells, which is, like, this huge hammer with, like, a 15-pound weight on top and, like, slamming the ground and breaking dead trees and, you know, like, battle ropes and weights and all sorts of crazy stuff, running with like high speed running. So we'll go like as fast as we can go, like, and then go at a slower pace and then go to full speed. And it's a surprising actually strain on the hamstrings. It's a wonderful exercise. So, and then also offering like group sessions in what I'm currently doing is running a boot camp in the synagogue. So I'm trying to create like energy in the Jewish community for fitness because that's not necessarily something that we take so seriously as a collective. But we do value our health in a religious way, which is actually something interesting if you want to talk about it in another later. So trying to get it started, and where better than in the community center. So that takes a little creativity. It takes a little moving and shaking. It's not so easy necessarily to get people on board. And then also leveling up, like in terms of some people, like they are not training on their own. Okay, they're gaining weight. They're not fit. They're not where they want to be. Okay, they express that they're not happy with where they're at. So what do? They reach out, let's say to me, to you, to somebody else, and do one-on-one personal training. So that's leveling up, right? They realize, hey man, or hey, you know, I need some help, and let's break, you know, let's break out of the ceiling that we keep knocking up against, right? So so there's all sorts of ways that you have to kind of look, you know, keep it fresh and new. Swimming pool exercises. I started a running group in the community, so we're running around the community. Start off really slow, but with God's will, it'll grow. And that's just to kind of be out in the public eye and be like, hey, we're running, come join us. Even if you don't work out with me, just if you see us running, you might want to do something on your own. So just kind of always just creating newly. I think that's key.
Yeah, I think with leveling up, you're so right. Like, you can't just keep doing the same thing. And that's what a lot of people that come to me, and probably go to you too, Shimone, I imagine. It's like, hey, I've been trying to do the same thing for how long? It's not happening. So stop talking about it. Stop wishing for it. Stop planning even, and just take action. Because we plan, I gotta sort it out in my head. You know what? Just do it. Just do it, right? It'll sort itself out. And I know, because I'm one, like, I think with my ADD or whatever, like, I feel like, I have to sort it out. I have to, but if I try to do that, I'll never probably sort it out, because my brain can't seem to sort things out. So I just got to go, right? And so I think it's like helping people take that step. Like, you want to get better? Let's go. And it doesn't have to be fitness and nutrition, like you're talking about. It could be in so many different areas. It could be, your mental health, your mindset. It could be your sleep. It could be anything, right? So let's get into some of those other things, Shimone. How else can we level up in our lives? Or do you still have some comments to make about the fitness particularly?
No, so actually you mentioned a golden point. So it's in life, like a lot of times we think, and I've been guilty of this all the time, is, okay, I'm going to figure it out right over here. I'm going to think about it. I'm going to maybe even go so far as to talk about it with a bunch of people, which is a good step. And then once I get it all figured out, then I'm going to do. But big mistake. Like, life, I'm going to tell you something here, okay? You ready? Yeah. Life is about doing, right? You actually, this. It's about doing. And then the thinking comes later. Like, a lot of times we get stuck up in just thinking process, but the doing process actually opens up so much thinking that is then productive. A lot of times we think about something, we go to sleep, it's done. So it's really quite imperative to be in action, constantly in action, trying new stuff. And brings up two more major points, if I can. The two more points. One of them is that a lot of times we think that if you have something, let's say success in business, or a nice car, or a nice house, or a wife, or a girlfriend, whatever it is, husband, boyfriend, you're going to be happy, right? So first you get it, then you act on it or whatever, and then you're happy. But actually, it works the other way around. You have to be a certain way. Let's say you have to be excited. You have to be creative. You have to be empathetic, whatever it is. And then from that comes the action. So once you are being a certain way, you take action in alignment with the way you're being, and then comes the result. So it could the fancy car, the business, the spouse, the kids behaving, whatever it is. It has to start from you being a certain way. And you can take that anywhere in life. So that's the first thing. You have anything you want to say on that?
Well, I think it's like, because I think about even me moving to the gym, Shimone, okay? What did that do for me? Because before I was just in a big gymnasium or in some kind of a hall, right, teaching a class. The ladies show up, we go hard, and then we go home. Now I'm in a gym, and that helped me level up because I'm changing my environment. Right? So now there's a shift in my head, and I'm learning because now I'm doing things different. I'm doing more personal training, less group exercise, right? So it's a complete shift. And I think sometimes changing your environment can be a really big way to help. So when people first go to the gym, they're scared, they don't know what to do, they're worried they're being judged, they don't have the cool clothes, whatever it is that's holding them back. Once they get in there, it shifts things. You know what I mean?
Yeah, that's brilliant. I mean, changing your environment is like, it's huge. Like, I can just speak from my own personal experience. Like, I grew up in New Jersey, and there's nice people there. There's all sorts of good stuff. However, it wasn't an environment that was really tailored for me to succeed. What do I mean by that? People weren't as open-minded as in most places in the world. They, in terms of being open to fitness, being open to nutrition, being open to just being friends and creating community, and kind of living a little bit outside the box, so to speak, whatever that means. And moving to Atlanta, Georgia, or in your case, Alberta, where it's like you get some good people there. Shout out to Alberta.
Woo.
And you can ascend. Leveling up is the start, but ascending is really, that's the big game, right? So that's what we're really into, ascension over here. So changing environments helps a lot. And The other thing, though.
Well, one point I wanted to say too, like what I was trying to go with. Okay, so talking about changing the environment, that gets me excited. Now there's people coming in the gym, they're talking to me all the time. So yes, it's the environment, but I'm excited now. I'm like, whoa, this is awesome, you know?
Okay, so that's real good. But what I want people to do is I want people to walk into the gym being ripped. I want them to be fit. I want them to be like, that's how they're walking in. In other words, they're not physically that way yet, but they are, that's the way they're being. That's the energy they're giving off. If like I understand walking into it being timid. I understand walking into it being self-conscious, but you can still make it that way. But it's, you're going to make it harder for yourself. You have to push through. Walk into it already being that person, and you will accomplish it much more likely. So I want you, if you're overweight, I want you walking into the gym, imagining you're freaking exactly how you want to be. If you walking in super skinny, you want to gain muscle, just imagine yourself being that ripped guy. Walk around that way, be that way, talk that way, and you're just going to ascend right into it.
And the cool thing is it's your posture. That's huge. Like when I would go in places and I would be nervous, like maybe I'm speaking up in public in a large group, or I'm in a new environment and I've got to do an event or something. The first thing I do, Shimone, is I put a big old smile on my face and I, shoulders back, chest up, and I'm just like, here we go. You know what I mean? Even if I feel like this, like, oh, crouched in and I just want to freak out, I'm just like, no, like, this is me. I'm confident I can do this. And I think that's up the posture and the mind frame, and smiling and letting your eyes like light up, even if you don't feel like it, that's a big part of it.
Yeah. The way you be about things is energetic, fun, funny, confident, about it. It's great. And that's, oh man. I forgot my point, actually. Continue.
That's okay. So we're talking about leveling up in fitness, okay? And we're talking about changing your environment. We're talking about be excited. So be who you want to be. And I think that's a good point, because a lot of people don't feel like they're there yet, but you don't have to be there yet. You're there in your head, and that's where it starts, right? You're there in your head. And so how else can we level up, okay? So let's talk about sleep, Shimone. Okay, like
how'd you know that's the ninja topic I wanted to talk about?
I hate that. I hate having to get sleep. I wish I didn't need sleep, because I just like to be. I don't like to have to go to bed. If I could survive on 3 hours of sleep, heck, I would every time, but I can't, and it frustrates me. But why do we need sleep? How do we level up in that area, Shimon?
Okay, so I had planned to actually ask the viewers to comment on and to learn about it, because this is the area that I want to level up in. Okay, I used to be a great sleeper back when I was a teenager or whatever, and I could go to sleep whenever I wanted. I would wake up naturally without an alarm, feeling fully rested. However, I got into a rough pattern where it's hard to fall asleep, and also I wake up at 4 a.m. So I even went to the point where I pop melatonin to fall asleep, right? Which actually is very normal. People do it all the time, but for me, I don't like to take any chemicals I could avoid. But I did it, but I'm still waking up. So I'm falling asleep when I want to. I got myself to fall asleep at 11 p.m., but I'm still waking up before. Guys, what can I do to level up my game? I know the no screen thing. I know the blue light thing. I know the wind down activities. I'm not saying I'm always there and getting accomplished, but Carla, what do you think? And I'm curious for the viewers. Because as a natural lifter, it's vital to get good rest. In order for the muscles to grow, to prevent injury, to be in a good mood for your spouse, for your kids, for your community, for your job, man, sleep is essential.
Yeah, it's a tough one. And I work with a lot of people that have issues with sleep. And I mean, a lot of the things that you said, right? Like melatonin is kind of like, okay, I think what's happening in that situation, if it continues and you can't seem to get a handle on it, I would honestly say, maybe try to find a really good naturopath or somebody, because sometimes what happens, it's your hormone levels, right? So the cortisol is supposed to rise in the morning, and then it's supposed to dip down, and the melatonin is kind of supposed to take over at night. Sometimes we get a hormone dysregulation, and there's a lot of reasons for that. But if you're drinking your water, you're eating well, you're getting your exercise, you're getting out in the sunlight, you're well nourished, then you have to start looking at, do I have some sort of dysregulation? And if I do, what do I do about it? Because yes, you could pop melatonin all the time, but at the end of the day, you don't want to pop melatonin at 4 a.m, because you're not going to be able to get up and be alive and awake till probably 9, 10 o'clock potentially, right? So anyways, that's what I would do. I would look into it and find out. Other than that, maybe there's a quick fix. But yeah, viewers, if you have any comments, please comment. Let Shimon know what your thoughts are. Maybe Yeah.
Awesome. Yeah, so that's great. And did you want to talk about anything about leveling up with sleep? other than that?
Well, I just think you need to get your sleep. I think too many people, I talk to trainers all the time and they're like, oh, yeah, I get like 4 hours of sleep, whatever. I've been getting up ridiculously early lately. So sleep has been an issue, but I try to nap whenever I can. So even if I get home at 4 or 5 o'clock, kids aren't home or whatever, or even if the kids are home, sometimes I'm like, hey, mom's going to go down for half an hour. I'll be up in a bit. Then we'll eat or whatever. So I just try to squeeze it in wherever I can. Is kind of what I'm doing, but that's kind of hard too because you get the cortisol, the melatonin all over the place too, right? But if you overtrain, you can't level up if you're not getting your sleep. If you're just like
Right.
popping caffeine all the time just to try to stay awake, how are you supposed to level up, right? Your head's all a mess. That's how I think of it.
Gotcha. So, a quick answer, Carla. How much sleep do you require? Is required?
I like about 7 to 8 hours. That's really nice for me.
Oh wow,
Yeah.
that's good.
Yeah.
I'm right there. I see 7 to 9. That's what I tell my people.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, yeah. Totally. 7 to 9. Okay. But you said something, this is a while back, not in this podcast. And I was like, right away, I was super curious. It's very controversial, I think. But you said something about depression isn't real or some such nonsense. No, I shouldn't say nonsense. Talk about that. Talk about this. What does that mean? Because,
All right.
talk to me about that.
Here we go. Yeah. So it's very interesting. So we'll start like I had certain times in my life where I had depression. And it was usually oriented around what I perceived as failure. So let's take me back to Shimon as a kid, as a teenager, right? Where I struggled in math and science in high school. And at that time, I didn't know that I had ADD and it was just a focus issue. And if I, popped some Adderall or I took coffee, of course, from the doctor, then all of a sudden I get 100. Like I didn't know that yet. So I'd straight up like just take these tests back and see the 64 that I tried so hard on, or 66, which is like, it's awful. And I'd be like, man, I'm a failure. I'm never going to make it. And then I would get depressed. And then it gets into patterns, right? Until that issue is addressed, which is something interesting we should talk about. And then at different points in my life. So I actually went through a divorce recently, like 4 months ago. So that was a huge trigger for depression, right? And like, oh man, do I have what it takes to work? Or am I going to find somebody else? Or what about the good times? Or all sorts of, things that come up around that. That's totally normal, right? And then let's see, what else? There's incidences of depression, let's say around ADD. Like, oh well, darn. How am I going to deal with ADD? Because there's going to be times where, I'm going to be spacing out a little bit, or that I'm going to try to push off tasks, and it's like, oh man, so I feel like a failure, right? So here's the thing. I struggled with it. It put me in dark places sometimes. I know you've been very vocal about it, which is awesome. Just to share and be real about it. But here's what I heard. I was watching this guy, and he was saying, he said that depression isn't real. And it was the first time somebody actually said something that helped, because until then, I was going on in my mind back and again with a conversation that's never ending, kept me up at night, as part of why the sleep was such an issue. And I went and I talked to some people too, which is a good step. But what he said is it's a natural, biological, evolutionary kind of thought process that lets you know that something ain't right. Something ain't right in your life that you may need to change. And it's hard. It hits hard, right? But hey, wait a second. There's a purpose here. And he was also saying, hear me out here, is that it's an ultimate selfish self-reflection, right? In my mind, thinking about my thoughts, thinking about how other people think about me, how I'm such a this or I'm that, or I'm not, like, it's an absorption in self, and there's no room for other people. You talk to somebody that's depressed, they have no space for somebody else. I'm not trying to make them into a bad person, because I've been there, you've been there, many people have been there. But the thing is, just talking about it all the time is not really so effective. Like, look at Robin Williams. Like, he was a great guy, super respected. I think I don't know this for sure, but I think I saw something that he was like talking about it for 10 years or something, like 6 hours a day with a therapist. Like, it didn't work. Just talking about it is not necessarily good enough. Now there's like PTSD and there's like real clinical depression. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about somebody who's a normal person. He's got a happy life. He lives in a house. He's not under some severe issue. It's like, no, like level up. Like, if you're overweight, like, stop eating pancakes. Like, maybe that's why you're depressed. Like, freaking hit the gym. Or in my case, like, hey, my relationship didn't work out. What'd you do wrong? Maybe I only did some stuff wrong. Maybe I did a lot of stuff wrong. Maybe the other person did wrong, whatever. Analyze it, see if I messed up, and then do something about it. Be in action. Don't have so much absorption around it. What would you say about that? I have actually a lot more to add.
Yeah, I think that's a good point. I think the hard thing, though, is, at least for me and people that I've talked to, it's like when you're in the very darkest place and people tell you to go work out, you're just like, you don't even have the capacity. You're just kind of like, I don't want to get out of bed. Like, how am I going to go work out? Like, you know what I mean? Like, you need to grab them, like throw them over your shoulder like a sack of potatoes and haul them off to the gym, or like, you know what I mean? That's the challenge. Yeah.
So actually, that's why it's so important. To another point I was going to talk about, to have a friend group that's got your back, not a friend group that's going to rub your back, but a friends group that's going to pick you up. Like, hey man, you're in the dumps now, man. You're overdoing it. It's just not that bad. Like, come on, like get over it. Let's go out. You know, we could talk about it, but let's do stuff. Let's be up to stuff. It's kind of like it has the power to a degree that you give to it. So that's why, like, I like to say, I don't believe in depression anymore. It's like there's two people that are in a haunted house. Okay, one person believes in ghosts, one person doesn't believe in ghosts. And then you hear a noise at the night. So the person that's going to believe in ghosts, he's going to be all freaked out he's not going to be able to sleep. It's going to mess with his day. He's going to move whatever. And the other guy who doesn't believe in it, it's just the wind. He's fine. So the thing is, like, why give so much power to something? Like, people defend it all the time. There'll probably be a lot of people, no offense to you guys, will be defending, no, depression is. Okay, fine. Why are you giving so much power to something that takes power away from you? Right? You're defending something that is so insidious, it can bring you to your knees. Rather, never adopt the mentality of somebody that's sad, right? Don't get in their thinking. You'll end up in the same place. So it's kind of like that. It's like, no, it's an indication something's wrong. Do something about it. Create a friend group that people can help you, or a family group that people can help you. Don't live in yourself, but kind of be out there doing for others, creating. And just don't, it's okay to feel sad, feel depressed, but so what? Act anyway. Man, there's days I get up, I'm not happy, or I had a bad night's sleep. What am I going to do? I quit on my clients? Or you don't feel like every day, do you feel like being an all-star mom, Carla?
No, the odd day I don't.
But you're still a mom, you know what I mean? So you go through that and it passes. Like it's not saying you never give time to it, but don't steep in it over and over and over and over again. You're giving away your power.
Yeah, I think that's true of so many things in life. Like, this is bad or that's bad. It's like, let's move on. What can we do about it? And that's what, like, when I was talking about depression, I wasn't about to sit there and, I didn't have time. I mean, I got 6 kids. I got a bit, like, I can't sit there and wallow because it's, somebody's got to do something, right? So I was right away, like, how do I do this? So I did therapy. I did, dialed in my nutrition even more, tried to get my sleep even more. And I think the friend group is so important, Shimon, because if you have friends that are like, oh, I'm so sorry, that's so bad. I mean, you do need those people that are going to listen to you, but you really need non-judgmental friends. And that's tough, because a lot of friends, you're just struggling because of this, because of that. You really need to do this or that, instead of just listening to you, letting you get it out, and then saying, I'm sorry, that's too bad. Let's go. What are we going to do about it now? Right? And I think you got to get those kind of friends around you.
Yeah, that's key. And we should talk about that more in other stuff when it comes to marriage and stuff like that, where it's how it's important to have a community and friend group. But just to finish this point, it's like with depression. Oh man, what were you saying before this? Sorry.
I was just talking about how you need to have a friend group around you, and that's going to help you, and that understands you and listens to you and hears you out. You've got ADD, I've got ADD. Oh, yeah. I can't remember. Let's move on. Maybe we'll come back to it.
Move on? Okay.
Yeah.
Cool.
Hey, it's Carla. Thanks so much for listening to the podcast today. I have 3 things I want to tell you about myself. But first, please go check out my company, Power Fitness Online. PowerFitnessOnline.com or Power Fitness Online, Facebook or Instagram. What I do there is I help you. I train you so you can get fit, strong, healthy, have energy, feel good, and be at your best. Because in this life, we want to be at our best. I do, you do, we all do. So here's 3 facts about myself. Number 1, I've been a fitness trainer for 20 years. Yes, 20 years. Number 2, I'm 5'4" 3/4, not 5'4" 1/2, none of that. 5'4" 3/4. Number 3, I have 6 kids. Yes, they're all my own. None of them were twins. They're all my own. I had them one at a time, and I love my kids so much. So remember, go to powerfitnessonline.com if you want to get fit and stay fit.